Shri Gajanan Prabhu replies, Swadharma Sakt Chittachesya Atmanaha Vivekena Daiva Yogataha Ya Atma Buddhi Tad Yoga Yoga Uchate. Taking this in connection into account, I am going to narrate about Shaiva Yoga. Listen to it. Although the three types of Brahmas that I have told you about earlier, namely Asat, Sat and Samabrahma, are contrary to each other, they have one special trait in each of them, towards which one gets attached. They are all enchanting in nature. That which does not have any attraction or any unique characteristic whatsoever is known as Shaiva Brahma, which is detached in all ways. Therefore, the Vedas have also called it the unmanifest Brahma. He is the cause of disposal of the manifest of all three, and therefore he is also known as Neti Brahma. What is the individuality of the three manifest forms? He says that which is known as Asat, namely the Shakta Brahma, is characterized by being the support of all the manifestation of names and forms. Its support, whose characteristic is life, is Saura Brahma, the state that can be understood clearly by its manifested nature. Again, that which plays about with the nature of Sat, which is indifferent in nature, is Vaishnav Brahma, who can be known by the manifested characteristic of equanimity. However, the manifestation is completed here because beyond that there is no description in the Vedas. In brief, what is unmanifest can only be unmanifest. How else can one describe it? And who shall look at it? That which is unmanifest can be known only by one, and everyone can know it. He enchants everyone, but he is not enchanted by anyone. That is why he is known by his characteristic of detachment. But he, considering himself the cause of all manifestation, begins to think, how did I attain this character of detachment? Does it signify the seed of manifestation? I caused the play of the threefold entities of enchantment, and that is why I attained detachment. Therefore, the fascination for making the threefold entities play, which I have accepted, should be given up. Thinking further on the subject, he asks how I got this liking. Is it because I had mercy on them? The triad, which has developed contrary natures to each other, has my protection. That is why the triad is able to play about in this world. If they do not even have knowledge of themselves, they do not have my protection, then how will their play go on? It is because of my support that they gain knowledge about me and get liberated. It is because of my acceptance of a graceful nature I, who am the unmanifest, appear to protect them, and so unnecessarily this blame has come upon me. Thinking in this manner, that unmanifest power center gives up his characteristic of mercy. Immediately the triad becomes absorbed. This is known as the triad of Neti. The threesome gets dissolved. That means even the fourth melts away. Since there is no subject remaining for the principle of Neti, it is known as Neti Brahma. How does one attain this triad of Neti from the Lord of the universe to self-ascent and reverse ascent? How does one attain it with the skills obtained through supraconscious meditative union? This has to be understood through the process of meditative union explained earlier. In the end, when one is able to actualize the unmanifest Brahma, one attains the integrity of the unmanifest Swananda. The experience of Shiveya Abheda Buddhi is accomplished here. Keeping in mind the entire description in the verse, Daiva Yogat Atmana Vivekena Ya Atma Buddhi, the stage of eligibility to attain the divine is being elucidated after the entire yoga has been described. Since the different kinds of play of Brahma are understood as intellectual play, the play of Asat, Sat and Samabrahma are considered of three types. Those three types who play about should be considered as three gods. The three gods named as Asat, Sat and Sama are Shakti, Surya and Vishnu. They being considered as gods, knowing them through the power of yoga, meaning they being actualized as completion, at the end of their play, make the Atman, the intellect, and this is called yoga. This whole process occurs step by step. The play at the abode of Asat Brahma is done by Devi Adi Shakti, who is known by the name of Shakta Brahma. Surya resides in the abode of Sat Brahma and should be considered as God therein. The one who plays in the abode with Samaras is Sama Brahma and the God is Vishnu. The self-ascent and reverse ascent are considered their play. When we call it their play, it means there is a beginning and an end. All of them being illusory in nature, it becomes necessary to remove doubts about their play and the one who plays. When this happens, one experiences the final end of the three types of gods and the power of non-differentiation. One experiences the intelligence of the Atman through divine union. Therefore, he is known as Mahadev. In brief, the reflected Atman is Mahadev, whose reflection is the three form of gods. Knowing their respective states, they get dissolved into their reflection. In the end, only one Atman Mahadev remains. From what has been described so far, and taking into consideration the method followed by the play, and the three who are engaged in the play are not independent or self-reliant in reality. With the end of this discrimination, all the yoga ends in the state of unmanifest. Therefore, manifestation itself does not remain. Then there is no consciousness of the play or the manifestation of the self, and thus he is known as Neti. Following that closely, the seeker on gaining enlightenment through the practice of yoga becomes liberated while living and does only those actions which are ordained by destiny. He lives in a detached manner until all actions ordained by destiny are exhausted. Both states of being, endowed with compassion or without compassion, no longer remains. When such a situation is reached, which is stated in the verse, Atmana Vivekena Daiva Yogataha Atma Buddhi, in a state of meditative union, then Tad Yogi Yoga Uchate becomes apt, meaning the state of meditative union which is attained through Sahaja Yoga or the actualization of Neti Brahma can alone be called yoga and the seeker called a yogi. Now, whose yoga is it? It is the yoga of Swadharma Asakta Chitta Cheshya, due to which it is known as Sahaja Yoga. The mind substance is attracted to its own dharma by itself. The divinity of the three gods whose manifest characteristics, that is, the intellectual play, becomes completely merged through the yoga of non-differentiation into Neti Brahma, also known as the unmanifest. After the actualization of its form as the Atman, nothing is left of one's dharma. There is no separate consciousness of the playful nature anymore. If the existence of support itself is dharma, then the witness state of Sat Brahma also becomes another dharma. In the same manner, the dharma of Nandan is Sama Brahma. Similarly, Sahaja Brahma, which is the unmanifest, makes all the other three Neti, and there is no possibility of any kind of dharma there. That is why it is known as the unmanifest. The triad is known by their manifested characteristics, but being there alone is the incidental experience. Therefore, there is no dharma. There is no attachment to one's own dharma. That is the state of yoga of the yogi. Sahaja yogic spiritual practice that gives one the experience of actualization of Shaiva Brahma has been completely explained. The yogis who practice superconscious and supraconscious meditative unions have held on to their faith in Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, or faith in the philosophy where faith in both of them is indicated. It is through Sankhya Yoga Nishta, that is, the faith in the philosophy of yoga, that Saura, Vaishnava and Shaiva, the triad of yogic spiritual practice, can be accomplished. In the absence of a clear explanation of the tools of yoga that leads towards actualization, it is possible to explicitly achieve it here. This has been asserted in all Vedic scriptures. There are 7 types of roles of knowledge that have been described. Out of them, The seventh one is pure consciousness state, attaining which entirely is possible only through Sahaja Yoga by the actualization of Shaiva Brahma. It is then that it gets completed. In the Mahavakya Tattvamasi, the Tat Pada and Tvam Pada have been completely researched and their boundaries should end in the Asi Pada, and which has been decided. What remains is only the Asi Pada which gets accomplished. From here on, the characteristics of the four powers, Asat, Sat, Sama and Sahaja, representing Shakti, Surya, Vishnu and Shiva Brahmas, can see their completion through their union in Ganesh Yoga. This is known as the Mayi stage, which has been indicated in the original verse. This can be attained through systematic study and practice. Before beginning the description, let us try to understand the destiny of a yogi who is engaged in yogic spiritual practices as to what are auspicious and inauspicious karmas on reaching the state of a liberated being. King Varenya asked this question in expectation of an answer to his doubts. A yogi who has completed his superconscious yogic spiritual practice and is proceeding towards supraconscious meditative union would have already attained the psychic powers of the four power centers. They are absorbed in the glory of self-knowing. Therefore, the individual soul would have reached its limits. Nevertheless, his life principle is still in his body in the form of a reflection, and he continues performing both auspicious and inauspicious actions according to his destiny. What is the destiny of those actions? Where do they go? Who enjoys the fruits of his good or bad actions? Or else, if all the karmas go along with him, then will that yogi have to undergo the fruits of those actions? If that is so, then some actions have to be done by him to enjoy those fruits. What about those? Whether he'll be in a miserable dilemma? Let me have a definite understanding on this subject. Then I will have no doubts and will be able to understand in a better way what comes hereafter. Dharmo dharmo jahati hai tatha tyaktau bhavapi ato yogaya yunjita yogo vaidheshu kaushalam. Knowing that such a question was in the mind of Varenya, Sri Gajanana Prabhu begins his reply from verse 49 onwards. Giving a general review of the spiritual practices given earlier, he reaffirms his position. After sacrificing the Tvam stage of the fourfold types of causal matter and conscious spirit, and also sacrificing its support, the Tat stage, which is of the nature of self-ascent and reverse ascent, and reaching the state of Asi stage is Swananda, which is united in nature, then the individual soul attains Shiva and other states of the Supreme Being. Such a conscious spirit who accomplishes meditative union is worthy of the title of a yogi. His physical countenance remains the same as long as his destiny lasts, that is, till his death. Whatever auspicious or inauspicious actions required to be done by the body continue to be performed. Then, what is the fate of those actions? I shall narrate that to you now. Listen to it, said Sri Gajanan Prabhu. The ego that had inhabited the body no longer exists, but actions as per destiny go on happening. But a liberated yogi is not at all impacted by them. Then what happens to them? If good or bad actions takes place, then their results manifest. To whom do they go? He says, to those who abuse the yogis, that is, those who abuse the bodies of the yogis are required to suffer the consequences of those actions. The fruits of the bad actions of yogis have to be suffered by those who abuse them. Therefore, as permitted by one's strength, one's intellect, and as per the strength of one's natural faith and devotion, those who serve the yogis, such people will automatically get the fruits of the good or auspicious actions of the yogi. This is ordained by the Shastras. In short, a yogi who is beyond auspicious and inauspicious karmas, the moment his destined duties gets over, The body is sacrificed and he gets absorbed into the glory of the self of Swananda. That is the essence of being a yogi.